Welcome to Cooks and Cars. Hi, I'm Rob D'Amico alongside Adam Merlin. Welcome to Cooks and Cars, episode number 8, all brought to you by the Big Green Egg, the ultimate cooking experience, and the Merlin Auto Group, where, Adam, you do the, the largest independent Ferrari dealer and service center in the country. That's pretty big, man.
Yep, absolutely.
Also,
franchise Glickenhaus dealer.
That's right.
Franchise Morgan dealer. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. If you want to check them out, go to merlinautogroup.com. All right. Hey, make sure you visit us on the web. You want to watch this program, you can do so. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. All the links are at cooksandcars.com. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on our social media, because that's how you can keep up with us. You can interact with the show. That's what we built the show for, is for the fans that want to interact and talk to us and have questions, because we'll get those answered for you and have a lot of fun doing it. So you can do that in the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat as well. And when we say Facebook, that's the Big Green Egg Facebook page, the Merlin Auto Group Facebook page, and the Cooks and Cars Facebook page as well. So some pretty cool stuff there we got going on. Today's guests include Chris Schemm, a.k.a. TitleTownGriller. He's getting ready for the big battle of the bays, if you will, Tampa Bay and Green Bay, which is should be a good game. I'm really up in the air on this one, because on one hand, you got Brady, and he's really bringing Tampa to the game and hopefully making something happen. But on the other hand, Aaron Rodgers is just magical, right? So that's a toss-up to me. I can't figure out which one I would like to go for there.
I kind of hope they both lose.
Is that possible?
Is that possible?
A thing?
Yeah. If that was possible, I would be very excited.
You're just not a fan of either of those guys?
No. I'm a Falcons fan. I'm a recovering Falcons fan.
I got you.
Still, and
so
it's
the Brady. You could care less about Brady.
Brady's irritating.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers irritating. I mean, it's just irritating. So.
And then what about the other game, the Chiefs, and you have the Buffalo Bills? What do you think there?
Yeah, I actually think the Bills are going to pull it off. I think the Bills really have some momentum going. I think the Bills are going to show up to that game.
It should be pretty interesting. We also have Steve Myers, the executive producer and executive vice president of iRacing. He's going to be joining us today. Some quick news and notes. I don't know if you heard the news on Friday. Hank Aaron had died, and he's a big, I'm not a baseball guy, but a legend in baseball, especially here with the Braves, Atlanta, and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's my first boss out of college.
Was it really?
He hired me to sell cars at the BMW store in Union City that he owned.
No kidding.
Straight out of college.
Wow.
My first day on the job, I had to go pick him up at the airport. He was flying back from the All-Star game in Bud Selig's jet. So, 21 years old. That was a pretty cool first day. I was 100% commissioned, so I wasn't getting paid for it, but it was still a pretty cool day.
That's awesome, man. Great stories there. But unfortunately, he passed away at the age of 86. Also, this morning coming in, I got a note that said Larry King died at the age
of
87. He had passed. I guess he was really battling COVID, and just being that old, it's
right.
That's tough, man.
Right.
It's I got a cousin going through it now, and he's got some issues as well. So Ford is recalling 3 million vehicles for airbags that have been linked to at least 18 deaths, which is pretty serious, man. So if you got a Ford, please look that up and make sure you get that taken care of, because it's a serious matter. And that's something we could talk about here on the show, is these recalls and how does that come into play with some of the cars that you may have, or even cars at the dealership that you buy. Is that something that needs to be taken care of by the dealer? How does that work out?
So, it's really recalls have almost become like the boy who cried wolf. There were so many airbag recalls, and then there weren't parts available for those recalls, right? So, people were, the manufacturers were doing things, and they were taking people out of cars, and then some people were just like, it's fine, my airbag's not going to explode. And the seriousness with which some of these recalls were taken really kind of waned, and people really weren't worried about it. No one ever asks us if a car has an open recall or not.
Yeah.
It's the reason that these are recall, some of them, are probably overkill, or because they have to cover the
liability, the company liability.
Right. But some of them clearly, like in the case of Ford here, that it can, if it can cause one death, that's one too many. So you always need to take those things seriously. There's several websites that you can research and figure out if your car does have a recall. It might be the only valuable thing that a Carfax report tells you, is whether or not your car does have an open recall. They tend to be pretty accurate. on that, although they're not accurate on very much else that they tend to report.
If you want to, we did a podcast on that. So if you want to go watch, I think it's episode number 3.
Yeah.
It's all about the Carfax.
Yeah. We're going to do a whole one on Carfax. They're on my list. So, but anyway, yeah. So it is important. Check and make sure that your car, if it has a recall, that you do, and you have to go to the franchise dealership to get those performed. That is something that they will do for free. They're required to do them for free. And if they don't have parts, then depending on the severity of the recall, you may have other recourse. So.
All right. In other news as well is NBC Sports, the cable sports channel that airs NASCAR, IMSA, and IndyCar, is expected to shut down at the end of the year, according to separate reports by Sports Business Journal and Wall Street Journal, which is, pretty sad. It's been around. It's got, caffeine and octane on it. So I wonder if they're going to move that. So NASCAR is supposed to move to the USA Network, which, brings a bigger audience.
Sure.
There's a bigger audience there, which is great. But it's, it's not a sports dedicated channel, because I do like some of those car shows I get to watch where they're building these things. So I wonder where these things are going to run and start being picked up. So we may want to reach out to our buddy over there and see if we can get him on to see what this means for him and
where they're going.
Yeah.
I know that they're in talks with several, their shows had a lot of success, and I know that there's a couple stations that are after them. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And you remember last week we had Ford Martin on, the guy with Monday Night Racing.
Yep.
And we just did a thing with the Jim Beaver eSports short course race that he did, World Cup. There you go. Ryan, our producer back at the shop, helped me out there. But they did something on Thursday night, which the Big Green Egg was a part of, and that'll air actually on February 14th before the Daytona 500 on CBS. So that's kind of cool, man. These e-racing showing up on the on regular TV. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's a totally different world. There's not a week that goes by you don't talk to somebody that's given up their cable and they're watching streaming now, or they have, there's some other way. I mean, it used to be if you didn't have cable TV in your house, your kids couldn't get friends to come over and hang out with you. Now, I mean, we go days without turning on our TV at home. So.
Yeah, it's weird. It's also for these networks. So, a sports network like that, now they have Peacock, their streaming network on the NBC side. They're trying to, it's the difference of that on-demand television watching and then the live sporting events or live events in general. So that's what they need to figure out probably here in the next couple of years and how that's all going to unfold. All right, let's bring our next guest on, who is TitleTownGriller. Our buddy Chris Schemm is going to be joining us today and talking about the big game, the championship game tomorrow. I think it's at 3:05 p.m. Eastern time on Fox Television. Chris, welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming on with us today.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Getting real excited for the game tomorrow. Yeah, you're right. 3:05 your time, 2:05 up here in Green Bay. And, I'm just happy that we didn't have the late game, because I'd be going insane sitting there waiting through everything. So at least we can get started earlier.
Yeah, it's not the 1 o'clock game, because you were probably hoping for a 1 o'clock. But when they come down to these playoffs and these championship games, they really put them in, a little closer to prime time for them. But it's going to be a great game. I don't want to ask you who you think is going to win, but how do you think that game is going to turn out? Because you got two great quarterbacks going at it.
Well, I think it's going to be a tough game. Obviously, you look back and see what happened in Week 6 when I think the Packers had their worst game of the year and the Bucs kind of steamrolled over us. But I think we're playing as a much different team right now, and I think Rodgers is seeing stuff in slow motion, which is kind of scary. Like that touchdown that he had.
Because he's getting old.
He is, but he's the youngest quarterback player starting in that game, so we got that going for us. I mean, you look back last week at that touchdown bomb he had to Lazard, and I think he knew it the whole entire play. I mean, even before the ball was snapped, he knew where the ball was going, and then he knew that he had it. So I think when you can have plays like that and you get a defense that is capable of making big plays, we kind of have that bend, don't break mentality where they seem to drive on us, and every once in a while they'll just make that one big play that they need to get it done. And I think number 23 is going to come up with a big pick tomorrow to seal the deal.
I really wish our boy Lane Taylor was going to be in that game to see him. He's got to be like so disappointed right now and just frustrated not being there. I'm sure he'll be at the game. I'm sure that he's going to want to be there. I don't know what their protocol is with COVID and all that, but the poor guy's got to sit on, injured. We had him on a couple of weeks ago. He's a BG Team Green member, and we really love the guy, and he's missing out on this opportunity.
Yeah, it is. It's tough for him. Actually, he just had a baby just a couple of weeks ago. So last week he was at home during the game. So I was texting him during it a little bit, talking about it, where he said, he says, hands down this week, I'm going to be at Lambeau. So he'll be on the sidelines cheering him on and hopefully kicking around some of that green and yellow confetti.
All right. So what's on the grill? What do you got going on? Tailgating. We're getting ready for the games this weekend. And what do you got cooking?
For me, one of the ultimate tailgate, home game day foods is nachos. I mean, I love a nice plate of nachos. It's something that you can kind of pick at throughout the game. You can kind of build your own nachos too. So you can make, half of it wife and kid friendly, and the other half is going to be loaded up with all the jalapenos, all the spicy stuff that I want. And, it's a nice snack where you can sit there and pick at it. And I like making my nachos on the egg. For a couple of reasons. One, I like steak. So, I did some Wagyu skirt steak nachos, and it was fantastic. But I also love when you put them on a skillet, back on the egg, and the ends of the chips start to get brown, and they get that extra little flavor to it when you're eating it and crunching on them. Oh, a few things that beat that.
And I know we had Mel, Dark Side of the Grill, on a couple of weeks ago as well. And that was one of the things that actually caught his eye with the Big Green Egg is he said, hey, man, nachos was my thing. That's what I wanted. And I saw that, tasted it, and that's what got me hooked. And now he's got like 100 eggs and cooks 100 things every week. But it's pretty cool because of the versatility. So how do you prepare that? You use cast iron? What are you using?
Cast iron is usually the one that I like the best. I have a pretty large collection of antique cast iron skillets. The one I really like using is a number 9 old Griswold skillet. It's nice and big. It's got high sides. Also because, I want to watch the game. I don't want to spend a lot of time cleaning up afterwards. I line my cast iron with parchment paper.
Very smart. That's a good tip.
Yep. That way, because I like it to get nice and hot and get everything nice and melty, I don't have to scrape melted cheese off the side. I could just pick up the parchment paper. Even if I don't want to bring the cast iron into the living room to watch the game, you just pick up the parchment paper, move it on a platter, and you're good to go.
I know you fold that thing like a giant taco, and that's how you're eating it.
I'd like to, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I have to share?
I suppose now and then I can. Another great game day food is sliders and wings. Those are two kind of staples too for game days.
So how do you prepare your sliders? What's in them?
So I like either like small patties for sliders. So you make little burgers, just kind of makes you feel, like a giant when you're eating little burgers. But also I really like tri-tip. I think tri-tip is a very tender, flavorful cut. Especially if you slice it the correct way against the grain. You have to pay attention with tri-tip because right at that corner of that triangle, that grain changes. But you can stack those up on sliders, and it's very versatile. There's a lot of different things you can do. I like doing chimichurri. I love doing a horseradish sauce. I like that extra little kick from the horseradish. And then I also recently, it actually aired on my local news yesterday, was a smoked beer cheese over those tri-tip sliders, which also, being in Wisconsin, we like our cheese and beer.
In that order, or how's that work?
It depends on the time of day.
Yeah, I got you. Hey,
I'm a huge cheese fan. I can't get into the beer cheese. I don't know what it is. I mean, I feel like the beer ruins the flavor of the cheese.
Is it the bitterness part of it? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, beer is good in certain instances by itself. Cheese is good always, right? And so, I don't know. And I mean, I'm not a very picky eater. I'm a good eater. I eat a lot, and but I'm shocked that I just can't get into that beer cheese thing.
Yeah, and it all depends on what type of beer you use too. I mean, obviously, if I'm doing a beer cheese, I'm not going to use an IPA. I don't want to use something that's hoppy because, just like you said, it's going to cover up that cheese flavor. So when I did it, I used an extra sharp cheddar cheese, so it was going to have a little bit more of that, kick from that cheese because you want to be able to taste that. So for that, I would not recommend using a mild cheddar because it will get covered up. And then instead of using like a, punch in the back of the throat, bitter IPA, I use more of a Pilsner for that, which is more of a subtle flavor. One that actually works really well for beer cheese is like a nut brown ale, because it can just kind of bring out some of that nuttiness in the cheese instead of covering it up. You don't want to overpower and have competing flavors, but if you can pick up like a nuttier beer, it'll kind of bring out some of those nuttier notes in the cheese and can kind of enhance the flavors instead of fighting.
And if we look over your right shoulder, looks like you know a little bit about alcohol.
Yeah, I'm actually down in my Packer room, but the lighting on the other side of the room where all my, Packer memorabilia, all that sign stuff is terrible. So now I have to be, kind of in my bourbon bunker. We got some there. And
oh, man, look at you.
Back behind me there. So.
Well, yeah, we'd much rather look at that than your Packer paraphernalia. So just keep zooming in. You chose the right corner of the room. That's for sure.
And you guys were talking about Hank Aaron earlier too. And I don't have it hung up at this house yet, but my dad saved the news clipping article from the day he hit number 715. So I actually have the whole newspaper of that, and it was one of those things where, I really wish I could have gotten it signed. Yeah. He always did all these Steiner signings like once a year in Chicago, and I considered taking the drive down, but I never did it, and never going to happen now.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's pretty cool, man. And I love that you have a room for all the your game day stuff and the alcohol.
Yeah, it's somewhere where I can be locked down here for a while. I think I could survive on the,
Hey, I noticed you talked about the tri-tip, and tri-tip is something that you don't normally find everywhere. Explain what it is, but also the way you cooked it in the pictures and videos that you sent. It's called caveman style, where you just drop it straight into the coal, no grid, no nothing, right in basically into the fire.
Right. So tri-tip is fantastic. It actually comes from the sirloin primal. There's so many different cuts that you get from the sirloin, so it's kind of hard to find. Some people with sirloin cap, picanha. It's hard to find in Wisconsin. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not super big up here. Not a lot of the butchers have it. It's a Santa Maria cut, I think is what it was originally called. It kind of originated over in California. I get my tri-tip from Snake River Farms, the Wagyu tri-tip. It's fantastic. You do have to do a little bit of trimming to get off some of that. The fat on there. And then the way that I like to cook it is reverse sear. Those big, thick roasts like that, they're usually going to be around 2.5 to 3, maybe 3.5 pounds. Not usually bigger than that. So I reverse sear it where I set it up on the big green egg on the indirect side first. Usually going to keep it around 250, 275. I like to throw a little chunk of hickory in there too, to give it a little bit of smoke. Once this tri-tip comes up to about, I'm a medium rare guy, so I like to bring it to 123, 125. I'm going to pull it, let it rest for about 10 to 15 minutes before I sear it. And while I'm doing that, I'm bringing the coals all the way up to red hot. So they're really burning hot.
At that point, are you leaving it wide open, like the dome open and everything? Yep. Okay.
Dome is open, bottom vent is open, everything is off of it, so there's no impeding the airflow. Most of the time, I don't have to add extra charcoal because the big green egg is so efficient with the lump charcoal that everything kind of is able to stabilize there. So I'm getting the coals, hot embers, really, really warm. They're to the point where they're the bright orange, maybe a little bit of white ash on top because that's some of the hottest embers you're going to have.
Yep.
And then I take the tri-tip and I throw it directly on the coals. So you'll let it sear on that. It'll pop, it'll sizzle. Maybe 30 seconds, 15 to 30 seconds, somewhere in there. You kind of check it, and then you flip it. And you'll notice that when you flip it, the charcoal doesn't stick to the bottom of it. I mean, every once in a while, you'll have a piece that hangs on by a thread that you just kind of flip off with your tongs. But by and large, there's no ash that sticks to it. You flip it over, you finish it on that second side, and you let it rest for another 5-10 minutes before you slice it. Again, medium rare, I'm going to pull it around 127 usually. Let it rest because I know it's going to come up about 5 more degrees, get to me that 130, 132 area. Personally, I could even pull it earlier, but again, you're cooking for a whole family. You got to be careful.
Yeah. I have the same thing. So I'm very medium rare as well. And I'll do that same thing about 123. If I'm doing a reverse sear, I'll do a 123. Get it rests a little bit. It actually comes up just a little bit, and then all you're doing at that point is searing the outside. But a lot of people don't understand that, when you do it directly in a coal or in a fire, and I learned that, and I'll probably get made fun of this, but back in the Boy Scout days, that's how we used to cook the meat out in the woods. We just throw it right in the fire and do it that way.
Yeah, it really just gives you that extra layer of smoke flavor to it without, you're not getting the acrid taste or that, really astringent taste of, burnt charcoal or anything like that. It just adds this level of smokiness that's fantastic. And, cooking, there's a lot of different things that you can cook directly on the coals too. You can do vegetables, your peppers, your green onions, stuff like that. You can do that right on the coals and cook it. And it's primal, but the nice thing is I think the design of the Big Green Egg being the double walled ceramic Kamado style vertical cooker like that, you can get the coals hotter quicker than you could if you were just trying to do it in a fire pit at your house. It's not going to have the airflow. It's not going to have that, almost convection kind of effect that gets everything hot and allows you to do that. So that's where I think it's a great vehicle.
I had no idea you could cook straight on the coals.
Oh yeah.
Probably not somebody at my level. You probably need to be slightly more experienced to give that a shot. But
again, that's what we always talk about. That's probably not your first cook.
No. That's a bold move. I mean, so
there's two ways, and I'll explain. What the caveman is, what you saw on screen, is directly into the coals. Then you have what's called cowboy style, and cowboy style is basically a grid of some sort right above the coals. So it kind of sits on there, but you do have the grid there. That's called cowboy style. So it's two different things there.
So like I've done chicken that cowboy style way because I haven't quite gotten the guts to just put my, like a bone-in chicken thigh directly on the coals. So I'll take my, I'll use my XL grill, but I'll take the grid off of my Mini Max because that'll fit right on the bottom there. You can throw, 4, 5, 6 chicken thighs on there, or 4 or 5 chicken quarter legs, or chicken quarters, and it works really, really well. However, I will tell you that if you're going to be cooking a steak caveman style, there's certain cuts that you want to do. You could do a fillet. I haven't because I prefer to finish fillets off different ways. But nice, big, thick, like roast styles, like the tri-tip. You could do a picanha that way, but that fat cap, again, not something I want to put directly on the coals. One of my other favorite caveman sears is a nice thick ribeye, like a tomahawk ribeye. It's built for it because it's got that handle, that bone handle that you just, use it, put it on there, and you can flip it nice and easily. But a nice thick steak like that can handle that.
So the thicker the steak, the safer it is to do that, is what you're saying?
Typically, although I've also cooked flank steaks that way.
I was going to say skirt steaks, flank steaks, stuff like that do pretty well on it because that's hot and fast.
So you have to know what you're doing. There is no like, the idiot's guide to doing this, right? I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it is feel. And, when I'm talking about this with other people, one of the things they'll say is, okay, I'm too nervous to do it for that first time. So, they have to build up a little bit of courage to do it. Because one thing, if you're cooking a tomahawk ribeye, it's not an inexpensive cut of meat.
Right.
So you're like, okay, I'm going to take this $60, $120, somewhere in that range cut of steak, and I'm going to throw it directly on the coals.
Right.
What if I mess this up?
Right.
So
it'd be nice if you could it's like the first time you ever work on a car, you take like a $3.5 million, like vintage Ferrari, like drop the motor out, do a bunch of work, rebuild, put it back in and hope it starts.
I got a project like that coming up. I got a Sequoia that needs the shift mechanism in the steering column that I have to take out. I'm a little nervous to do that.
You're going to do it yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to give it a try.
Wow.
I'm pretty handy.
We should feature that on this. I'll do the cooking and you do the carring.
Yeah, and then we can have footage of Rob driving it afterwards.
Yeah, right. Or not driving.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
We'll take bets, see how far he goes. Right.
That's right.
I'd be like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
All right. Hey, man, real quick, though, you might be able to help out with this. I had a friend of mine who has 2 tickets to the Battle of the Bays, the Tampa Bay and Green Bay game. They're both box seats. They're about I think about $1,500 a piece. Comes with a ride to and from the airport, lunch, dinner, the whole 9 yards, a $500 bar tab. It's a pretty cool deal, but he's unable to use them because they didn't know this was going to be with COVID and all that, but he's getting married this weekend. So if you know anybody who wants the tickets, please let me know. If they want to take his place, they can do so. It's at St. Michael's Church in Milwaukee. It's Sunday at 3. Her name is Ashley. She's 5'4" and about 110 pounds. She loves to cook, hunt, and fish. She'll be the one in the white dress.
Yeah, there you go.
I was sent that to this week on my in a group text. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, "That's pretty good, man."
Yeah, that sums up Packer fans.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly what would happen, no doubt. All right, man. Hey, great stuff. Appreciate you coming on with us. How do our fans find out more about you? And I saw some of the guys coming on. Gary said hello. Great caveman style cooking. And somebody said you're a Peloton freak. Is that true?
I've been working on that. It's been a way to kind of work on my fitness. Yeah, I've been. I got it in November 17th, and I've ridden it every day since. So
nice, man. Wow. That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a good way because I came to crossroads. Obviously I work in healthcare. I'm a nurse practitioner, so I know what I
and real quick. And I want to mention that because you are on the front lines of all this stuff, and you're battling that in the offices and all that. So we thank you for doing that as well.
Oh, thank you. I'm not like in the ICUs. I orthopedic trauma, so I fix bones. But yeah, it's been keeping us busy. But so I have that knowledge, knowing what I should do. So it came to the point where I'm like, all right, I either got to stop eating like crap or
we're not doing that.
I'm not going to stop eating like crap. Let's be honest. So I went that route.
Well, you don't need that crap, man. You eat the good stuff. So it's all good, but it is a lot of red meat though. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Red meat, beer, and cheese.
Yeah.
And you can't even keep the beer and the cheese independent of each other. So the beer, cheese. Right.
Hey, real quick. I saw in one of the pictures you had those pretzels. Those are Pretzillas, aren't they? Is that what they're called? Dude, those I just found those this week, as a matter of fact. Those are an awesome thing, man. I just found those. They're delicious.
Yeah, my girls love those. Those are just little things that they can just keep popping and eating, and it's like they're running around being crazy. Like, just go take some of those. Let me watch the game. Yes.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you very much. How can fans follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram is where I do most of my stuff. I'm also on Facebook. It's at TitleTownGriller, all one word. We'll be having some good Big Green Egg cooks, and hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll be able to follow me for some nice Super Bowl cooks.
All right, my man. Hey, thank you very much.
Sorry.
There you go. That's right. All right, man. Thank you very much. We appreciate you joining us today on Cooks and Cars.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All
right. Before we head out to the break, our next guest is going to be Stephen Myers. He'll be joining us. He's from iRacing. We'll talk about what he's got going on. And I got to give props to Monday Night Racing. James Davison, who ended up winning that Big Green Egg Cooks and Cars Porsche Challenge, which was really cool. It's a great race. Will Power was on the pole. Some big names were in the race. They put on a good show.
I was just disappointed not to see you in there. You were supposed to be in there with the Cooks and Cars car.
I know.
I mean, it's just, I mean,
I let you down, man.
My computer wasn't plugged in. I mean,
it wasn't.
It's like one thing, I mean, in the real world, my engine blew up, my trailer, crashed, and my car's gone. I mean,
it's a poor excuse, but it wasn't connected. My laptop was, or I'm sorry, my computer was not connected, unfortunately. But they had a great race. It was awesome to watch. Congratulations again to James Davison. We'll get him on the show. We've reached out to him trying to get him on, but actually they're doing a bunch of stuff with down in Daytona already with the Rolex 24. Ricky's down there. Jordan's down there. They're all down there getting ready for that. And who, by the way, is a friend of ours here on the show and with the egg, Ryan Briscoe, who's now with Glickenhaus. He'll be driving the car over there. So that's going to be pretty cool for him. We'll try to get him on as well. All right, we'll take a break, come back. We got Steve Myers. He's going to be joining us here on Cooks and Cars. Stand by.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it. It's the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Simple to light, easy to use, comes with a free lifetime warranty. Have it delivered to your door by a certified dealer in your community and start enjoying the ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at biggreenegg.com. That's biggreenegg.com.
Adam Merlin, president of Merlin Auto Group, and over the past 12 years, we've been successful at building our business with the undying focus of taking the pain points out of what normally is a miserable process, which is buying an automobile. And it was on this mindset that about 2 years ago, we launched our service department. Because let's face it, the only thing that's potentially negative about owning these exotics or ultra luxury cars is the fact that you have to service them, is the fact that they stand the chance of possibly breaking and you don't know what's wrong. It's the fear of the unknown that we as the consumer sometimes are really nervous about before we go and buy that Ferrari, before we go and buy that Aston Martin. And that's the reason we started Merlin Auto Group Service Department. We went out and got factory-trained, certified technicians for Ferrari, Maserati, Bentley, Aston Martin, Rolls-Royce, and Porsche to make sure that you had somebody that you can rely on to help you manage your automotive investment and make sure that the right things were getting fixed, they were getting fixed the right way by people who knew how to fix them and were willing to take the time, answer your questions, and make sure that you were satisfied and you understood what was going on. If you're looking for a shop where you can get an appointment easily, where we'll answer the phone, where you can talk to the technician, where we genuinely care about your problem and truly want to help you solve it and be your partner in your automotive ownership experience, you need to give us a chance here at Merlin Auto Group.
Welcome back. It's Cooks and Cars. Hi, I'm Rob D'Amico alongside Adam Merlin. It's all presented by the Big Green Egg and the Merlin Auto Group. You can check us out online at cooksandcars.com, where you can watch and interact with the program. We'll get to some of those questions here in a little bit as well. I saw some of you guys interacting when we had on TitleTownGriller, Chris on. But make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's very important. And we got some stuff that we're going to be doing some giveaways today, so you got to get to the website.
I think what we really need to do, you know, when we bring on these chefs that know what they're doing on the egg, you know, they I'm sure that, I mean, they definitely inspire me. I mean, when, you know, I go home and try some of the stuff that they do, and we want to encourage you to do the same thing, and then, you know, come back the following week and let us know how it goes. You know, send us a message, let us know how it goes. We'd love to interact with you and find out. I mean, I guarantee you I'll probably ruin, you know, $500 worth of meat this weekend, throwing stuff straight on the coals, trying to see if I can figure out how to do this.
And when you interact with us and you tell us you got it right, I guarantee you're going to get a call from Adam. Hey, man, how'd you do that?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's, you know, it's really cool for me. Because, I mean, you know, it's hard because what they come on talking about, it's like beyond my scope. Like I need to understand the preparation part, you know, and unfortunately the show's too short for them to like start at the beginning, right. You know, like you have to go to the grocery store, like, you know, even, I mean, I bet you like some of these guys like have identified purveyors of meat that they buy from, you know, like, you know, I mean, I have one locally here that's really good that we're going to bring on the show. That really makes you look good, because if you buy good quality meat,
that's right,
you cook it on the egg, you really do look like a hero, and you have to know nothing.
Yeah,
I'm proof that is true. So anyway, but we encourage you, try it, see what, you know, try what he says, you know, make some beer cheese, do whatever, and you know, let us know how it goes.
So we've been talking about iRacing, and obviously we took part in the Big Green Egg Cooks and Cars Porsche Challenge with the Monday Night Racing League. We talked to those guys.
We did not take part. We were supposed to take part.
Yes, that is true.
Instead, we just watched it because we couldn't get our car prepped properly.
My shop, we had some issues.
Yeah, that plug was just too far away, and the cord wouldn't reach. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, we were in that race. We also were in the World Cup with Jim Beaver's short course stuff, which is basically the Pro 4 trucks, and they're on dirt, which is really cool. It's a really cool feature, but it'll also be on CBS Sports, which is going to be nice. And we're pretty excited about that. And if you're watching the screen right now, you're going to see some of the highlights from the Monday night thing that we had going on, which was kind of cool and a lot of fun. Those they do a great job. And what I love is with the short course that we just did with Jim Beaver, he had on Evan, who's one of the announcers. The dude is awesome. Like, in real world, he should be on television
Sure.
doing it.
Sure.
And he's that good. And here he is, you know, in the, you know, yeah, works with iRacing and does some stuff with the iRacing stuff. So the dude is awesome, and I love the way he calls a race, but he also does some stuff with Monster Jam as well, which is kind of cool. All right, so let's bring him on. He is the executive producer and executive vice president of iRacing. It's Steve Myers. Steve, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining us here on Cooks and Cars.
Hi, guys. Glad to be here.
Hey, real quick, I know you're a big barbecue guy. Did you learn anything from TitleTownGriller over there?
Well, I'll be honest. I have a Weber Smoky Mountain, so you know.
What's that? We got disconnected. I'm sorry. We seem to have lost you.
Well, that was part of the reason why I came on here. I thought I was supposed to get a new green egg, so that's why I'm here.
You're like, hey, don't the guests get an egg or something? Is that how this works?
Right. It's supposed to be in your green room, right?
No, I'm really into it. My wife got me the grill for a birthday gift probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've gotten really into it. When I do it, though, I mean, I really go all in. I probably make 3 different types of barbecue sauces and do, you know, usually a shoulder. But the new thing that I've been doing a lot and playing around with is pork belly burnt ends.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically like candy. So, I mean, that's
so we had that conversation last week when we had on, because burnt ends originally, and a lot of guys in the barbecue world will argue with you that burnt ends should be the point end of a brisket, right? But the pork belly burnt ends are, it's 100 times better. It really is. I can't get over why they argue this. It's great barbecue, right?
Yeah, well, it's the first thing that goes whenever I do barbecue, and I love it. It's fantastic.
So you love charcoal cooking. You do a lot of that, and do you like going, you know, low and slow more than the hot and fast stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a 225 guy, and 20 hours type. You know, I like to cook it as long as I can, as slow as I can, and it's really, if you do it that way, it's pretty much impossible to screw it up. So I mean, it's it's a fun. I think I heard you talking earlier. I mean, it's almost the preparation and all of the effort and time you put into it is more the joy than even eating it when you're done. And so, it's kind of like that full day, full 24-hour experience when you cook. So I enjoy it.
You know, I think that's the part of the egg ownership that most people fail to realize. I mean, the food and the taste of the food is almost like secondary to the whole process of the cook. I mean, it's like in my house, especially with COVID now. I mean, you're limited with activities, and it's a Sunday activity. If we want steak for dinner, I mean, around lunchtime, we're talking about getting this thing ready and what we're doing, and it's a whole event. I mean, it's cool, and that's the part I think that makes it so wonderful.
I 100% agree.
Hey, so want to get what we actually brought you on for is talk some iRacing. We'll get into more barbecue a little bit later, but hey, iRacing, a cool sim service that you can be a member of and have some fun. And what is iRacing all about? It's not like this is brand new. You guys been around for a while, man. Talk about the technology that got you here and how it all started and began.
Yeah, so we started the company in 2004. And when we started the company, we set out with the mission of we wanted to create the most authentic racing simulation that we could. But we also took a new approach and created a service. And the goal with the service was to create the virtual sport of sim racing. And now that word is called esports. So we were kind of in the very beginning, pioneers of kind of a centralized service, all digital downloads, not a box product. And, our model is a little bit different where we're doing, 4 major updates a year, and we're always continuously updating the software throughout the year. And so, it was really unique when we first started, but now it's kind of fun to see how the whole entire industry is shifting towards a similar model to ours, because it's just doing everything download and digitally. It's just obviously the way of the future. So it's worked out really well for us.
And have you experienced like exponential growth during this time of COVID, or are you one of the technology companies that really has seen a meaningful difference in your popularity?
Yeah, you don't want a pandemic to be the reason why your company kind of goes to that next level. But
Sure.
we've worked really, really hard for 16 years to be in a position that, what really was the trigger point was, doing the pro invitational races on Fox and, having over 1 million people tuning in to watch those events. The signups, just shot through the roof. I mean, our business essentially doubled in this past year. Because people were at home and looking for something to do, and they weren't able to go to the racetrack. They weren't, there wasn't a lot of stuff to watch on TV, and so not only did we have a lot of people tune into all of the IndyCar and NASCAR and World of Outlaw events that we did on TV, but they downloaded the software and they started using it, and that's what's really fantastic about our product is that our best sales force are our customers. Right. Because they come in and they get into it, and they get 10 of their friends to join. And so
sounds like really, the egg.
Yeah, yeah, it's our product isn't just a piece of software; it's a community. There's 177,000 active customers right now that are racing 24/7, 365 days a year from all over the world.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. We're talking to Steve Myers, executive producer and executive vice president of iRacing.
And I think he made a great point. They've been around for 16 years, so it really wasn't the pandemic that necessarily sprung them to the next level. They did obviously a lot of things over the course of 16 years to be ready to go to the next level. And whatever the triggering event was, there was going to be a triggering event somewhere, but you got to be a quality business with a quality product, with a quality reputation to be able to, to seize the opportunity whenever it comes, whether it's the resulting from a bad experience or a good experience, whatever it is, and I think, there's a lot of people out there in the business world. I mean, I pay a lot of attention to this stuff being an entrepreneur myself, that, people, they're almost like resentful of the companies that have just blown up, well, because of COVID, they blew up. Well, a lot of these companies, just like Steve's, they've been around for 16 years. They've been killing themselves. They've been doing an unbelievable job for 16 years, and then, yes, it may be a pandemic that made it a little more well known, but if Steve started on March 13th or whatever the day was that the world got shut down, they wouldn't have 177,000 active users today. I mean, so I think that's a very important point to make. I mean, you put yourself in a position to, they say, the harder you work, the luckier you get, and I think that's an important point to make.
Steve, we back on my show, I had the show called Race Day on Fox. I was on it for 14 years. We did it with Fox Sports and Fox Sports Radio and Speed Channel and all that. I remember having Otto back, I think it was 2008, man, if you can, imagine that. I mean, I've been a member, I think, from 2009. So, yes, it's been around and it's been good. And it's every year it gets, like you said, 4 times a year, you're upgrading this thing. I mean, new tracks, which I do want to make mention because you, for the first time, actually came out with an iRacing track, the Speedway, which I haven't driven yet. But it looks pretty cool. Explain how the track is, because it seems like it's a lot of banking and drafting comes into play at certain cars and things like that. Talk about the track and why you did one for iRacing specifically.
Well, so that track has a little bit of an interesting backstory to it. So, before iRacing, we were a company called Papyrus Racing Games. And so we made NASCAR and IndyCar and a Grand Prix game. That company was founded in the late 80s and really was the company that kind of started, this racing simulator kind of entertainment product that, iRacing has turned into. So that track we actually did for Coca-Cola when we worked at Papyrus. And it was a fantasy track, and it's, I think it's 3 miles, and it's unrestricted. It's got like 38 degrees banking in the corners. We put the cup cars on there without restrictor plates. So you're doing 240 miles an hour in the draft
That's impressive.
It's ludicrous how fast it is. And so, you know what, you know, our customers, you know, have always kind of been asking, oh, when are you going to bring, you know, Coca-Cola Super Speedway? And I put a challenge out on social media to Coca-Cola that if they came on board and sponsored our esport with NASCAR, that, you know, we take that out of the mothballs and bring it back. And so that was how, you know, so they came on board and sponsored the series. And so then, true to my word, I said, all right, let's pull it off the mothballs. And we had it all branded Coca-Cola, and it was named Coca-Cola Super Speedway. But just with the timing and how long things take to get approved with big companies like that,
Oh yeah,
they couldn't get their approvals done in time for our launch. So at some point, we'll rebrand it back to Coca-Cola when everything gets approved. But we wanted to get it out right before Christmas because we knew, you know, people were at home and wanted something fun to do. But it was more of a kind of a one-off, just kind of paying homage to Papyrus and the Coca-Cola relationship. That's how that came about.
So that track, we see that eventually in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola series, which, by the way, the Big Green Egg, we race a car in that series with Jim Beaver Esports, which is a lot of fun. We really get into it here. A lot of our customers enjoy it as well. It's just, for them, it's great entertainment. And, you know, I'm sure some of our guys are customers of yours as well. But is that something we'll see in the future?
Well, I think, you know, honestly, we've been kicking around the idea of doing something fun with it, like an all-star race or something like that, something that, you know, wasn't necessarily points paying, because that series, we definitely, you know, want to be very closely aligned to what's happening in the NASCAR world. So we like to really preview, you know, what the event is going to be that weekend on our Tuesday night race, because it's often the first time, you know, this year with many new tracks that the Real World Series is going to, we'll have an opportunity to kind of showcase something like Bristol Dirt before it happens in the real world. So, you know, that's kind of more where we're trying to align with NASCAR to do that and to kind of preview what's going to be coming up for that next weekend.
And I have noticed that when you do that, like I think it was the road course at Daytona, you guys in virtual world were able to do it first before the real world got to do it. So a lot of guys tuned in, a lot of the television side, the broadcasters, they all wanted to see how this was going to work, how it was going to play out. And they all learned from it, which is great. The drivers learned, the television, the broadcast side of it learned. So that's got to be a neat feeling that they use this platform as something like that. And, you know, a regular person like myself can get on and do the exact same thing and even race against some of those guys, which I've had honors, Mario Andretti. I mean, all the big names I've raced against, and it's really cool. It's a great feeling to have that.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. And, you know, we've advanced so much as a company in our tools and just the way that we recreate these tracks and these cars that we're actually even working with NASCAR now to do some of the track development work. You know, so everyone has heard that the Auto Club is being reconfigured. We're involved in that project. We've modeled the track and have helped NASCAR and the R&D department kind of understand what the cars are doing around that track. So, you know, it's really quite remarkable to think, you know, all these years later where we're so aligned with motorsports that we're able to help these organizations, you know, test and develop new concepts and ideas that it's going to happen in the future. And it's going to save people millions and millions of dollars to do a lot of this development R&D work in our platform before they ever have to, you know, pick up a shovel and throw it into the ground.
Talking to Steve Myers, the executive producer and executive vice president of iRacing. I will say this, you know, when real world and virtual world come together here at the Egg and being in the marketing department, my first time this year, I've seen a proposal come across the desk that actually had real world racing in it through NASCAR and the Cup Series, and on the other side in the virtual world as a dual sponsorship. When you sponsor one, you get the other. It's part of the package now, which I thought was pretty neat and you know, pretty impressive on the Cup side of these guys with some of their drivers that do that, and they're big names, and I thought that was really neat to see the crossover there with the sponsorship.
Yeah, where it's you know, again, when we started the company, our goal was to really be integrated with the motorsports world. And, you know, here we are, you know, 17 years later, and, you know, we really are part of the fabric of motorsport. I mean, you can't go into a garage in any series in the world, and not, at least find a handful of iRacers that are either using the product, to train or learn tracks or vehicles, but just even team members being able to kind of experience what their drivers are experiencing does provide a lot of value. I mean, there's a lot of teams that we work with that we're working mostly with the engineers to helping them evaluate testing plans and what they're going to do for a race weekend on our platforms, and that stuff especially in this day and age where they're killing qualifying and practice at a lot of these these race series. It's really helped particularly a lot of like the middle tier and lower funded teams kind of catch up a little bit to those well-funded teams, because the playing field has been leveled in a lot of ways. And so the teams that are kind of able to adapt to technology and kind of find different tools that kind of bridge those gaps that they're losing with practice, they're the ones that are kind of really making the best out of this.
Yeah, I was going to say, it kind of takes some of the advantage to having an incredibly well-funded team. It takes some of the advantage of just having that wealth away, because, it's obviously a much more cost-effective way to train and to be able to get the same experience without having to spend the real dollars. Now, Rob happens to be one of the only people that I know that couldn't figure out how to plug in his computer to get his car ready to race.
I'm never going to live this down.
I would imagine that, like these teams, I don't have a lot of experience in racing, but the little I do, the costs are staggering. And so it seems to me like it really does level that playing field. I was going to ask, I'm, kind of joining Team Glickenhaus, they're big into endurance racing. I mean, that's what they do. The Baja 1000, we were in Mexico this year, where our boot beat the Bronco, won the class. Off-road racing, I after being a part of that, it to me seems to be incredible. Is an endurance race, is something like that something that's even viable on an iRacing platform?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so right now we're doing the 24 hours of Daytona. So there's probably 10,000 people right now racing, on our servers to do that event.
That's awesome.
I will say, the evolution of dirt in our service has been really fun and an interesting, an eye-opening experience. We started with, the project really started with, on the pavement side, with figuring out how to do our dynamic track surface. But we needed to figure that out to be able to do dirt ovals, because we needed to make sure, when a tire is running over the dirt, that it's displacing the dirt in the proper way and the track is changing. And then after it was so clear that market was underserved in the entertainment and gaming and simulation space, that it really blew up. And it was, that was in 2017, and that really was one of the big catalysts at the time to kind of, at that time, take us to the next level. And so as that was proved successful, we got into rallycross. We did, we've done rallycross stuff now, but then we did the Pro 4 and the Pro 2 trucks. And I will say that, we just released Crandon 6 months or so ago. I had never experienced a track that was more fun to drive than Crandon in the Pro 4 truck. I mean, it's like Road America, and dirt, and it was I absolutely love it. And so for right now, we're kind of really structured to work on a more circuit-based way. So I mean, I could see somewhere down the road where people's computing power and we have the ability to kind of create, vast terrains, desert terrains, that we would do something like, more of an open world endurance type version of it. But that's down the road. And, right now there's so much fun stuff to do on more circuit-based stuff. That's where we're focused.
Hey, I got to ask you a question. You guys hired a new executive director. Is he really holding up his end of the bargain here?
Dale Jr., yes, yes, he is. Actually, it's funny, in our world, tire manufacturers, they either love us or they hate us. And so, one of the first tasks that I put Dale on was to get us back talking to Goodyear, so that we could, talk to the guys that they put in the room, the rooms with no windows and no phones, and and give us some of those secrets that they have. In the world of simulation, tires is like black magic. And so, and as much data as you can get, about tires, you try to get, because it really helps advance the model the most out of anything. And so, yes, his first project was start working on Goodyear again, and he's been doing a great job on it.
No doubt. All right. We're talking to Steve Myers. Steve, before we head out here, I do want to say, you're talking about the sophistication and the setups of these cars. I don't want people to think, oh, man, I got to know how to do all this. And because there is a side of that where you can go in and tweak everything about the car just like you can in the real world. I'm not at that level, I'll be honest with you, but I can go on and race in the fixed series, they call it. And it is awesome because you can tweak a few things here and there. You don't have to know about it, and you just go and have some fun. And that's what it's all about, man. That's why I enjoy it so much. I've been a member, like I said, since 2009. But talk about the two differences, so you can be a guy, come in and work on your rookie license and start working your way up.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like to say I'm Ricky Bobby. I'm just a driver, right? And so, iRacing is can be as deep as you want it to be, or as easy as you want it to be. And basically you go to our website, you sign up for a membership, which right now is like $8 for a month to try it out. You click a button and you download it to your computer, and literally within 30 minutes you're online racing against people from all over the world. But yes, there is we do try to make the cars as authentic as possible. So they have these garages that are very, very deep, especially when you start getting up to the higher level cars. But when you start in iRacing, you start out racing MX-5 Cup cars and Legends cars and street stocks. And we really want you to kind of learn how to race and being around people in a multiplayer race. And one thing that's quite different in racing video games and simulation is that, if you play, Call of Duty and you stink at it, it only affects you. You just keep getting killed. And what's different about racing is that if you're in a race with somebody that's not skilled and not very good at it, it ruins the experience for everybody. And so we really put a lot of effort and time in trying to coach people and educate them on how to be safe and courteous drivers, because that's how the service works. And so, we make it very easy that as you graduate up, that there are series, like you said, like fixed setup series. So if you don't really understand how to set up like a car like you and me, that those are series you can just click a button and you're in, and you don't have to worry about any of that.
Well, we first really started talking about iRacing last week, and I got into it. And all week I've been looking, and I went to go sign up and all that stuff, but I'm on a Mac computer. And, you indicated it doesn't really work well on a Mac computer. So I was trying to figure out what's the best, for somebody who doesn't know if they're going to like it, kind of wants to try it. I was kind of hoping I could go to iRacing and y'all had like packages, right? Like click here, it's $1,500. You get the computer, the steering wheel, blah, blah. Yeah.
It's up there now.
Oh, no way.
just for you, man.
It's funny. We put it up right before Christmas, and I actually got my daughter one of them too, so that she could start. She's only 10, so I'm trying.
So wait, so we can buy a system through you?
Well, we have a partner, but yes,
yeah.
You click a button on our website. We have a whole package set up right there.
Yeah, look, I've been looking for that all week, so maybe a little feedback. It's not that easy to find. I'd have bought it already, but so cool. All right, well, we'll look for that.
Hey, Steve, we're here on the show. We're thinking about putting together a series, and I just want to throw some stuff by you, because I have to have. Here's what we're going to do. We have guys like Ricky Taylor's going to be doing some stuff. Jordan Taylor, Juan Pablo Montoya will come on and do some stuff here, and we want to open it up to the Egg family, the Merlin Auto Group family, and we have some sponsors that have been on the show that want to open up to their guys as well, and bring them in and create a racing series. We're going to broadcast. We're going to do the whole 9 yards. It's actually done by Ryan Bauer, who I think with the podium guys and all that stuff. But he's going to be helping us out, and we're going to put this together. But we need to race a few cars, and it's multiple class. So I want to get your opinion on something here. Is with the sports cars, I need probably the LMP2, because that we can, label that anything. It could be an Acura, Porsche, whatever that could be, so we can have our drivers get in that who are in that series. But then I also need like the C8, which I think is in GT3, and then you got the Lambo, which is in GT or I may have that backwards, but
it is switched. Yeah,
it is switched. So, but racing all those together in a series can be done with class racing, correct?
Correct. Yes. I mean, so we have the tools on the site that you sign up, and of course we have this official racing, which kind of helps you graduate up the ladder to ultimately, if you're the best of the best, that you can end up in some of our World Championship esports series, and we'll probably give out close to $1 million in prize money this year in our esports series. But then we also do have what we call hosted racing on our service, where you could come in and set up a league with your friends and race any car and track combo that you can imagine. Right now we have over 100 cars and over 100 tracks. So there's something for everyone, and there's the ability to create a league, just as you said, with multiple classes. Again, what's really fun about our service is that, even taking the Pro 4 trucks to street circuits is fun. I mean, so people have found some really interesting, creative ways to use the.
I've done that with the Pro truck, the Pro 4s at Watkins Glen.
Yeah,
it's a blast. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I mean, it's that with hosted racing, you can really the only limitation on what you can do is your imagination.
Yeah. All right, man. Real quick before we head out as well, if you go to cooksandcars.com right now, we are giving away a 1-year iRacing membership. The sweepstakes is up. There's 8 ways to enter. You just go to cooksandcars.com. The racing sweeps will be on there. You can click the button. It's all right there, ready to go. So it's really cool, an opportunity to get in. If you want to try, here's your opportunity, a free opportunity for a year of iRacing membership used for new members only. So if you're a new member and you want to try this out, here's your way to do that. And I know Adam's over there right now entering.
I'm shopping for the computer. I want the setup. I need the whole thing to just show up so I can plug it in, so that when Rob can't plug in his computer, I can actually race. So I'm
you see what I deal with, Steve? You see what I deal with?
Yeah.
All right, Steve. So real quick, what's on the menu for this weekend? Got some big football games going on, I know. And what do you got on the menu for this weekend?
Well, it's interesting. Like you guys got me thinking about barbecue when I was asked to come on the show. So I think I'm gonna do some ribs and some pork belly for tomorrow.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking. All right, Steve Myers from iRacing, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. And anytime you want to come on, anytime you get I think it's 4 times a year, you said, every quarter you want to come on and talk about the new releases, hey, be my guest, man, because it's a lot of fun. And I love doing it. Like I said, I've been a member for a long time. I'm a little embarrassed, though, because I only have a C license on the oval. And guess what? I'm still a rookie in road racing.
As you should be. I mean, you can't plug in your computer.
Well, thanks for being a member.
What's that? I'm sorry. Ryan was saying something.
Being a member.
Oh, yeah. So how much do you race before we head out here? How much do you race to get on the service and race?
I'll be honest. I've been doing this for this is my 21st year doing this. So where I end up doing a lot of the driving is in the testing environments where new projects that we're working on. That's where I have, quite a bit of enjoyment in doing that, because, I'm the ones that's doing all of the deals to sign those agreements. And so it's fun to, kind of see the full cycle of just starting from the conversation to being a piece of art in our service. And so that's where I do most of my driving. I've been trying to get into I'm in a league with Tim Duggar and Dale Jr. and those guys. And they're all so good that I'm embarrassed to show up this time.
So, hey, please tell me you have a rookie license too.
No, I do have A licenses, unfortunately.
There you go. All right.
But I've been doing this for 16 years too. So.
Yeah. All good. Hey, Steve, thank you very much. We do appreciate it. Thank you for joining us here on the show. And again, iRacing.com. If you're interested in joining us with our league, we'll get that set up here soon. Also, if you go to cooksandcars.com, the 1-year membership for the new members, the sweepstake is up, and it's got 8 ways to win, so you can join in there as well. Steve, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Great stuff. I love that.
Dude, I'm into this iRacing thing.
So have you found it? I'll help you find it if you haven't.
No, I do not see where you can just push the button and buy the setup.
I'll get you all set up there. Yeah, we'll get you all set up and ready to go because I do want to race against you, and I will plug in, I promise, the computer.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to race against you. I mean, you can't, he'll probably have some technical difficulty and break and get it straight.
Oh, man, I'll never live that down.
How long does it take to get like beyond a rookie license? Like, what do you have to do?
So back in is Steve still on? Let's see if we can answer that question. No, it looks like Steve left. But I will say this: it used to take a long time to do, but now it's pretty easy to do. So you have to do certain tracks. Oh, okay. He's back. He's joined us here. Steve, got a quick question for you. Adam was asking me just now.
So like I sign up today and I go through the process. I plug in my computer and I join and I'm ready to go. I start racing. How long will it take me to get beyond a rookie license to where I can actually participate in some competitive events?
Yeah. So, the really good guys, it takes them a week, to graduate up because we have, something called
define that in
so,
hours, like hours. Is that like racing 8 hours a day for a week, or is that like practicing an hour a day for a week?
Yeah. So definitely, to really graduate quickly, you're probably putting, 5 hours in a night, to advance. But so the key to graduating to the higher levels is just being a safe driver. And that was one of the core things that we developed when we developed the system was we don't necessarily care how good a driver you are. We care how safe a driver you are. So when you start and you go into these events, what you're really focused on is not necessarily winning to start. It's just being safe, not hitting walls, not hitting other drivers, not going into the grass, not spinning out. And if you put together 4, 6, 8 clean events in a row, you very rapidly start graduating up into the higher levels of the service because, that's the main, again, going back to the point of, if you stink at iRacing, you ruin the experience for everyone. And so we're trying to teach people to drive inside their kind of limitations.
And then like to participate in events, does it cost money or do you buy different cars? Like how does all of that work? You get about you get 19 tracks and 14 cars in the base package, and then which gives you everything you need to race in all the rookie series. And we try to make it when you first start that you don't have to pull your wallet out again. Right.
But as you graduate up to the higher levels of the service, you do have to start buying the cars and tracks. But it's a one-time fee. Something like the Cup cars, we're always, almost every year, we're updating that content. All the NASCAR tracks, you buy a NASCAR track once, it's, for the most part, unless it's a completely redo, we're doing all of that update for free, and you just get, those updates whenever we do them. And so, but yes, as you graduate up, you have to start purchasing content.
But I do think that's cool about this concept. I play some of these online apps and stuff with my kids when they have screen time, and it's, you get the app for 99 cents and then, you play for an hour, and by the time you buy everything you have to buy to be able to play for an hour, next thing I know, I'm getting this receipt from Apple for like $800 worth of, stuff. And so
I leveled up, Dad.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like a king in this one. And I'm, and so like, I did think that was cool. How much you get for the the base price. I mean, you can really get in and get a taste and enjoy it. And again, the expense of it, forget about relative to racing in real life, right? Which is, they say, if you want to make a fortune in racing, if you want to make a small fortune in racing, you start with a large one.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just, I think it's just so cool because it eliminates that barrier for so many people. Not to mention, if you're afraid to ride in a car at 200 miles an hour because you may crash, heaven forbid,
well, that's one thing
you have that luxury too.
I don't have to pay for crash damage.
Right. No, I think that's awesome. And I admire the fact that you guys aren't, you just don't feel like these other games where you're getting nickel and dimed every second.
Yeah. Hey, Steve,
we definitely nickel and dime you a little bit.
but just on tracks and cars, and that's so you can own them, and then you got them. But it's all good. Hey, you did give me an excuse though. So now when somebody says, "How come you haven't won yet?" I'm saying, working on my safety. That's the my I rating.
Safety
Working
rating.
on,
Yeah, working on your safety rating.
That's right. So that's my excuse now.
Rob, no, Rob. It's because I can't figure out how to plug in my computer and actually race. Like, that's why I don't have a license.
All good, man. Hey, Steve, again, thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the meal, even though it's on a Weber. We have to change that, Steve. We're going to have to fix that, okay?
Sounds good.
Get you an upgrade. All right, man. All right. Thanks for joining us, man. Thank you. All right, man. Good stuff.
That was fun.
And I can't wait to do our league. I really can't, because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Joining today, and by the time I come here next week, I will have a setup. I don't know what it's going to be. I mean, every time I go and look for a gaming computer, I hesitate to buy it because then I see all these motion sims and these whole things.
Oh,
and
man.
I'm like, dude, we should buy one of those and put it in the showroom, but I mean, right now is really a bad time.
Yeah, you can't get COVID.
Well, yeah. I mean, unfortunately my office at the showroom is not big enough that I can put it in there.
One of the big sim makers are here in Atlanta. Simcraft is here, and I'm buddies with those guys, and they're all eggheads too, by the way. And they have some of those great. They have everything from a motion platform to the entire roll cage thing.
Yeah, maybe I need to work. Maybe they want a Ferrari, and we can kind of we can trade off a little bit or something. You go. I don't know.
All right. Don't forget, you can log on to cooksandcars.com if you want to become a member of iRacing. We have free memberships up there. We have 3 of those to give away. So make sure you get on and join. We'll be polling the winner, I think, on next Friday. So when we have next week's show, episode number 9, we'll talk about the winners on that show as well. So some good stuff. Again, looking for more information on Merlin Auto Group, you can go to
merlinautogroup.com, or our Facebook, which is Merlin Auto Group, or our Instagram, which is at Merlin Auto Group. And send in the questions during the week. Anything you send to sales at Merlin Auto Group or service at Merlin Auto Group during the week, we get those questions, and we want to try to cater the content on Saturday to that. So please.
Don't forget, you can log on to biggreenegg.com, where you can get more information on the ultimate cooking experience, and even shop online. They have some egg packages that can be delivered to your house as well. So some pretty cool stuff there. So again, biggreenegg.com. All right. I'm Rob D'Amico. You can also follow along with me, ROBDAMICO. That is my Instagram, Twitter, all that great stuff. But please make sure, if you're going to Cooks and Cars, the YouTube channel, you subscribe to the channel so you can get this notification every time we do a show, which is every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So please, and thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate the interaction. Sorry, I really didn't get to a lot of the guys there that were on there, but they were talking about the cooks, nice caveman style, saying hello to Chris, guy from San Diego. We had some excellent talk, number one service, talking about iRacing. So again, thank you very much for the interaction. If you've got questions, you can do so. But the important part is get to cooksandcars.com and make sure you subscribe to all of our social outlets. For Adam Merlin, our executive producer back there, Sutton, and our producer back at the shop, Ryan, I'm Rob D'Amico. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Cooks and Cars. We'll see you next week.